Continuing here with the 3.2 example. Oh, it goes from 3 to 5. Oops, I can't count. Okay, so I must have taken one away. So we're going to example 5. So we did this one with the numbers, right? So there's all sorts of variations with the numbers. One number is bigger than another number. The two numbers add to this. And there's always this information. So remember, we're looking for the information that's given, right? So some people title this given. This part is given, it's standard. And then we're looking to maximize or minimize the product or something over here. Okay, so we've got the two columns. So we're going to do the same thing here. Now this one we set it up differently though. So I'm going through the kind of different types, and then from these types that I'm doing, you should be able to go, okay, any other type from this, it kind of follows one of these patterns. So this first one is kind of, I give you information, we use that information to get to the next part. Here, I'm giving you the information, and it's going to be able to be put all into one equation. We have a magazine producer that's selling 600 magazines at $6 each. A marketing survey shows that for every 50 cents she increases the price, she'll lose 30 sales. Okay, so we've got 600 magazines, and she's losing 30 sales. So let's put those two together. This is the number. So 600 magazines, and she's losing 30 sales. That's the number of magazines. The other part of this is the cost. So it's $6 each. I'll do a line. So $6 each and a 50-cent increase. So with all of these kind of profit or revenue questions, and this is income, right? So income. So we want the greatest income. So with these questions, it's always talking about how many can I sell, right? So the number, and how much can I sell them at, right? So it's always going to be the number that we're selling it and the cost that we're selling it at. And that's the same thing for all these profit questions. It's how many can I sell? That's 600 the magazines, but she's losing 30 sales. And how much is she selling them for? It's $6, and she's increasing it by 50 cents. So as one of them goes up, so if she increases the price, then she'll sell fewer magazines, right? So if this increases, the sales will lose. If she decreases the price, then you should be able to sell more, right? So this is always the same thing with ticket sales, selling magazines, any items and that sort of thing. So as you increase the price, the number of sales goes down. As you decrease the price, the number of sales should go up. One should be plus, one should be minus. We're going to put this together into a product. So what we're doing is we're doing number of sales, right? Sales times the price of how much. So I usually do this. I do let. Okay, and there's more than one way to do this. So if you wanted to do it a slightly different way, just make sure you show me before an evaluation. I wrote it this way. Is that okay? Is it about the same? Yeah, okay, so sometimes it's okay. So I'm going to show you kind of my way of writing it, and there's slight variations with this. I say let. So every time she increases the price by 50 cents, every time she increases the price by 50 cents, she's going to lose 30 sales. These two are connected. Right? Does that make sense? So if I do this twice, if I increase it by $1, how many sales will you lose? 60. So these two are connected. So I'm going to connect these two with an X. So whatever happens here, so if this is times 2, I'll lose 2 times 30. If it's 3, it'll be 3 times 30. I'm going to connect these two numbers, because they are connected, with an X. So let X represent the number of 50-cent increases. Usually you say let this one connect to this one. You don't usually say let X be the number of 30-cent loss or 30 lost sales, right? Because it's kind of like, so you want me to count how many sales I'm going to lose? It's usually the price, right? So it's let how many of these 50 cents will affect that one. You could have said let X represent the number of 30 sales lost, and that connects back here. It just sounds funny when you put it that way, right? It's like, how many times are you going to increase the price? So it's usually this one. So that's because these two connect. If I say X is 1, that means I did this once, so I lost 30 sales. If X is 2, 2 of those means 2 times 30, so it's 60. So that's the connector between the two. Then what I usually do is, I said, for any income, I'm always going to be looking at the number the number of sales, right, times how much. So how many, right? So how many and how much. Okay, you don't have to write this part, but that's what I'm finding. I multiply how many times how much. So I go times, so I go how many times how much. So if I sold 500 times $5, 500 times $5, right, and how much you get. Right, so that makes sense, like the number I sell times how much I'm selling it for. So then you don't have to write that. That's just your brain thinking that. Then for my income, so this one is not like this one. I don't have a separate statement. My separate statement is this part here where I have to connect the two. Right, so I don't need a separate statement. I'm going to go right to income. For income, I'm going to use the letter I. Right, you can use Y, you can use whatever. I'm going to use I. I'm going to put I over here. My income. My income is going to be the number of sales I have of the magazines. So I get the number from the yellow. So this I'm grabbing here. So how many is the yellow part? 600 magazines, she's losing 30 sales. Does that make sense? So I go number, okay, number, and then the sales. All right, then this part here is how much, right? How much is the $6 and the 50 cents. So $6 and the 50 cents, that's how much. Does that make sense? So the number is these two, and the how much is those two. Then we're going to put them into two brackets. So how many I sell is usually 600, but she's losing 30 sales. So minus 30, and my connector is the X. So 30x, it's how many of these 30s? 30, 30, 30. Is it always going to be 30? No. I could do half, so 25 cents, and then it would be 15 sales. So it doesn't have to be exactly 30. It could be, right, half of that, so it would be 15 sales, etc. Okay, but here, now how much would be here, the $6 with the 50 cents. So you're going to say it's $6, and we're increasing it, so plus, right, one's minus, one's plus. It'll always work that way. And it's a 50-cent increase, and then that connects by the X. The connector is the X. However many times I do this, it connects to the 30. And that's my two brackets. And that's it. So now we just have to answer the question, right? So the hard part is setting it up. And then now I want greatest income. So that means I want the vertex. Greatest income. These are all vertex questions. All we're doing in 3.2 is vertex questions. We want to find the vertex. Later on in the chapter, we're going to add the roots to it, and then we'll have to decide which type of question we're answering. But for 3.2, they're all vertex questions. So to get the vertex, remember from the example above, I said you could do the two x's and find the halfway, but you can also use this new formula, your vertex x. Most people go, you know what, that one just feels kind of comfortable. So I'm going to expand. I'll do it that way. I'll do the formula way to get us used to it. I'm going to expand 600 times 6, so 3600. 600 times the 50 cents, so it'll be 300 x. Okay. 30, negative 30 times 6, so it's minus 180x. And then negative 30 times that is be negative 15x squared. And there we go. So it should be an x squared question. If it's not an x squared, something's wrong, because all we're doing in this whole chapter is quadratics. Okay, then we go fix it up. I need the order fix. I always like to clean things up. So minus 15 x squared plus 120x, right? And then plus 3600. And then I would like to find my vertex x. Right? I state vertex x because otherwise there's too many x's flying around. I don't know which one I'm talking about. So I go vertex x. Some people go x with the little v there and the little subscript v. And that's fine, just telling you which x you're finding. X is going to be negative b over 2a. Right? And that's the completing the square, right? We did it the fast way. So we're going to get negative. So remember from here, we've got a, you don't have to label this, but a is negative 15, right? This part here, this one here is b is 120, and c we don't need. But c, that one's c. Okay, so C is 3,600. We don't need it, but there, that's your brain thinking, oh, I know what those are. So just like the quadratic formula, we're taking it from there. So B is 120, so negative 120 over 2 times A is negative 15. So that would get me negative 120 over negative 30. And that would get me, is that 4? 4. Right, exactly 4. Good. And look, that feels hopefully easier than grade 10. Right? So you're like, that's all we were doing? That's all you were doing, right? So you're setting up the quadratic. And now answer your questions. You got everything. Now, I get up to the x. You can go ahead and find the vertex, but let's stop for a second so we don't do too much work. And what are we answering? What price should she set to obtain the greatest income? What price? Price. I didn't ask you the income, right? I didn't say what is the income, so you don't have to find I. You can, it's just that then you're wasting your time and you kind of go, oh, the test was so long. Yeah, because you're answering questions I didn't ask. So you want to go, what price should she set? So P, where's the price? X is the number of 50-cent increases. I is the income. So where do I get the price from? The yellow or the green highlighter? Yeah, the second bracket, right? So this one here, this is the price. Okay, so we're going to grab that and we're going to go, okay, so I need to find the price. Okay, and that we're going to grab it just from here. Okay, so that's just that second bracket, not the whole thing. Okay, you've done all the hard part. What we want to do is just make sure you answer the question. Okay, so we're going to go with the price, and you can even say price equals 6 plus 0.50x, which is, and this is when x is 4, right? So that's what we found here. X is 4. From right here, we got the x. So we're going to go 4. So this will be 6 plus 4 times 0.5. It'll be 2, so 8. And then just conclusion. You're all done. You did all the hard part. So therefore, the price she should set is, and then make sure you put the units. Don't forget the dollars. After all the hard work, you don't want to lose marks because of you didn't put the dollar sign there. Is $8. Okay. Any questions? Yes. The price? We go back to the words. How do we know that this represents price? We made up the equation, right? So I grabbed here, these two underlined parts here, $6 at 50-cent increase. So that part there is the price. So some people write a let statement, and they actually state that. It's just, it's more writing. You can say let 6 plus 0.5x represent the price. Yes, and 600 magazines and 30 sales is let 600, what did I say, minus 30x represent number magazines sold, right? Sold, right? So this is the number, right? The part here I did in the highlighter here, 600 and that. The part I underlined here is the price. So you don't have to state that. You can, so these two here, those two brackets you can do as a let statement instead of this, but you can also do the X which connects the two. Yes?
Will we just be able to tell what to group them with if there's like a dollar sign?
Pretty much, yeah. So the dollar goes with the dollar, yeah, and the number goes with the number, yeah. So exactly. So a good hint is that's the 50 cents. So the dollar with the dollar and the number with the number. Yeah, because you're not going to do 600 minus $6. It's like, but I sold 600. Why would I say minus 600? Yeah, so that's why. So a good hint is the dollar with the dollar and the number with the number. Yes.
Is the 4 like the amount more that you should be selling?
Yeah, so that means it's going to be 4 times. 4 is not the amount, it's how many times we're going to do this increase. So it's kind of like in the subway, right? When they increase the price, they go, okay, so how many times can we do this a year? We should probably just do it 2 times. How much are we going to increase it? Each time we'll increase it by 10 cents or something. So this is saying 4 times we should do it, and that's my connector. So if I do this 4 times, that'll be 4 times that, $2. And then how many times will I lose? 4 times that, I'll lose 120 sales.
Like X equals 4 or something.
Yes. Yeah, so the 4 represents how many times we did the increase decrease, right? So, and they do use things like this, right, in their kind of profiting, right? They go, okay, if I increase the price, I'm going to lose some sales, but am I going to make more of a profit and we'll kind of break even, or is it going to be okay? They do all these kind of estimates for when we increased the price last time, how many sales did we lose? Yeah, so this is actually kind of a more realistic example, right? Because it makes sense. There's, of course, other factors, but we kind of just do the simple how many per how many, yeah. Yeah. Okay, good. All right, good, good, good. Okay, I'll pause.